Tell me about the good old days.
The things where I don't know the difference between an adventure game and a role-playing game.
Yes.
You school me on this stuff, aged boomer.
Oh, for the love of Pete. Yes. Well, we were started last conversation talking about adventure games. And then you were sending me a bunch of ones you loved, and then I noticed that Baldur's Gate and Ultima were in there, and I'm thinking, well, aren't those RPGs, role-playing games? You're like, what's the difference? Well, role-play games have like leveling up and multiple characters usually, right? And then you're learning spells and stuff, and they're different. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
As opposed to just being like a graphic twist to plot.
Graphic twist, kind of, basically, yeah.
Okay.
Adventure
I
game
getcha.
from Wiktionary. An adventure game is a computer or video game of the genre characterized by investigation, exploration, puzzle solving, interaction with game characters, and a focus on narrative rather than reflex-based challenges. Now, you could make an argument that these types of things also exist in RPGs, so I'm not going to fault you there.
And I was going to say that even some of the other ones that we were talking about have an element of combat, and you got to hit the button at just the right time in order to beat the dragon or whatever the case is.
Well, sometimes, but usually with the ones I played were rather stationary. As long as sometimes you'd have to lead your character away from something, right?
Yeah.
Before it was too late, but usually it was fairly stationary. Do you remember Infocom games before we even start on the adventure games? Infocom games?
Yeah, those were text-based, were they?
They were text-based. They were entirely text-based games. These were earlier computer games. They came in these nice fancy boxes with all sorts of neat doodads in them, but the game themselves was all written out, and you would have to type in commands of what your character would do to get further in the game. But it was like an interactive novel, basically,
sure.
Where you were the main character, from a first-person perspective, I think. And those were pretty popular. If any of you have the Call of Duty Black Ops game for consoles or PC, the first one, there's actually a trick where you can go into the PC in that game and play a copy of Zork on the computer, in the game, which is it's kind of nifty when they do that. The Activision remembering their heritage, I guess. But moving on, though, one day, though, my brother got this game called Transylvania, and it was this. Now, as you see at the bottom, you have text, but what else do we have?
Some simple graphics, yeah.
Some simple graphics, but you can make out what it is. Basically, it's a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
You're standing near a broken horse-drawn wagon. Paths go northwest, east, south. There is a menacing werewolf. Command, shoot. And you type in the command, shoot werewolf. Command, shoot werewolf. I guess we have a silver bullet and a gun, right? Or an arrow, maybe. Okay. But this was a big deal. Transylvania. No sound. I don't believe there was even any sound in this version of the game. There may have been later. This was on the Atari 800 computer back in the day.
Nice.
And this was a big deal. And I was like, whoa. You're actually seeing the monsters and stuff instead of just reading about them.
That is pretty cool, yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, this game is called King's Quest.
King's Quest. Netter still is a huge fan of this.
This is the first King's Quest game. Graphics are rather basic. This was created by Roberta Williams.
Yes.
She is known as the creator of the graphic adventure game. So these things we're talking about now were created by a woman.
Okay.
No, I know. That's the point. Okay.
Yeah.
We always pretend like the past, everything was horrible. No.
Oh,
okay?
I see what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Because no. Women never did anything before, 2001 or something like that.
And credit where credit is due. Okay. She created this entire genre of gaming. Okay. And good for her. And I loved her games. King's Quest was a long running series, went on for several ones. I remember a friend of mine got King's Quest 5. Look at those graphics, huh?
Yeah.
Quite a leap, huh?
Yep.
Pretty neat.
I played that game.
And I had it on the NES. That's
the NES there?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Not terrible considering the restraints of the hardware, but not as good as this, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember, yeah.
I remember that you go into this inn at a part in the game. In fact, I don't know if it's this building here. This could be the inn. You go in there, and your character, King Graham, goes, hi, gentlemen, and good day, gentlemen. And there's like, I'd like to rent a room, or something like that. And they look at you, says, and the owner goes something like, what do you want or something? And then like his henchman next to him says, hey, boss, this guy looks like a troublemaker. What do you want me to do with him? And then he says, rub him out. And then you find yourself tied in the basement. And if you didn't get a certain item to get yourself out of it,
yep.
you're dead. Okay,
Yep.
like, and the
Yep.
thing is that you walked into an inn. It's
Yep.
an inn. You know, you're murdering me for walking through the door.
Oh yeah, every step of the way, in order to get, the next little item you needed to have solved something else or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, that owl would follow you everywhere, right?
Oh, that was annoying. Yeah.
There's a YouTuber called her name is Hungry Gorilla, which I
Okay.
think was maybe a misspelling of Hungry Gorilla in some old NES game, but she plays a lot of these old games.
In the tree.
Yeah.
What'd she say?
What'd you say again, Nutter?
The jeweled egg and the nest in the tree.
Yep. Jeweled egg nest in the tree. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Okay. But at the beginning of the game, the owl starts explaining, "Oh, King Graham, your castle disappeared. It was quite a, it was quite a horrendous ordeal for me to witness. I'm shocked still." Like he's complaining about the effect that happened on him, and the host of this YouTube channel says, "Yes, let's make it all about you."
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like. But Netter was a big fan of the King's Quest games. Did anyone in particular?
Well, we really played them together, to be honest.
So it
with
was
you.
a dual thing, yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and she was actually in some instances better than I was. She'd think outside the box and come up with the solutions. But sometimes when she'd get frustrated, I'd look at it from a different angle and figure it out. Some of the puzzles were just ridiculous. It's like how does anyone ever think to do that,
Exactly.
whatever the case
well,
is.
that's kind of the trick with a lot of these games too. Like some ridiculous things. Like I think there's one of those adventure games on the NES where you had to get a safe open to get a cookie to feed to a demon somewhere. Okay,
Right, right.
Who would stick a cookie inside a safe? All right,
Exactly.
It's like, but
although there was a lot of things where if you're in the right mindset, you're playing a heroic character, right?
Right.
So if you don't help out the queen of the ant colony, who's having a problem with some animal trying to destroy her, later on, those ants won't be around to help you get out of a jam, And
that's funny.
Yeah.
This wasn't in an adventure game, but it was kind of in an action RPG for computers. They also released it in the NES called The Immortal. And there's a scene in that game where you run up to this Goblin King, and like you're fighting goblins all through the game, but then you run into the Goblin King.
Yeah.
And like he's like, I need water. And you could give him some healing water.
Sure.
You could say it for yourself. And if you say it for yourself, you run into him a couple levels later, and he's like, you didn't help me when I was dying. Now you die, and he executes you. Whereas if you helped him, he'll help you out later.
Yeah.
It turns out the goblins will actually leave you alone later on because they're having a battle with the trolls in the dungeon, and they'll leave you alone and help you with the trolls. But it was a thing, and that's how clever these games were. Sometimes you'd really screw yourself over. You have to start from the beginning again. I remember that.
Yep.
But these are amazing graphics for the time. I think these games even had sound later on, like actors and stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, this kind of leads into what we were talking about last week with, the addition of CD-ROM and them being able to put sound on the CD-ROM, even like closing credits with, a musical score.
Yeah, you mentioned, I listened to that song, the Girl in the Tower, right?
Did you like that?
Yeah,
like an
ballad.
80s power ballad, right?
Power ballad. I liked it. Yeah, it was cool. But, anyway, that was what I was stuck with on the NES, but I was happy to have it. I would have rather it came out on the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo even had mouse. Plus, let's be honest, playing this on a game console, not as intuitive because you have to move your controller around as opposed to a mouse, but you got the job done. But
some of these games you ran into the situation of the pseudo 3D, so you might be able to move left and right just fine, but you were never certain how far into field and out of field you had to be for certain tasks. How you lined up with objects in 3 dimensions was not always that easy.
No, that's true. I can't think of any examples. Maybe Myst was like that. I don't know, but
Myst was actually where it was really starting to get a lot better. I'm thinking more along the lines of these things here.
Hold on, there's a picture of Myst.
Oh yeah, there's
I'll go
Myst.
back to the others. Yeah, there's Myst though. Yeah,
Myst was like a quantum leap forward in compression of elements and interaction between very realistic graphics and like real world photography. It was incredible. It pushed the boundaries in a lot of ways. Then you had like video footage of real actors and stuff. It was that's where it really started to get interesting.
Yeah, let me go back. But these are some other Sierra games. So we mentioned Sierra was the big company, though there were
Yep.
others. Space Quest. Did you used
Yep.
to play those? Roger Wilco. That was more like a tongue-in-cheek, I guess, thing on Star Trek
Yep.
and other science fiction properties, probably, right? Yeah.
Or like a Flash Gordon kind
Or
of
Flash
thing,
Gordon. Yeah, there you go. That's probably more what it was like. But then you had Leisure Suit Larry.
Leisure Suit Larry, Mandy from Toxic Femininity has been doing some playthroughs of Leisure Suit Larry on her channel. Really
that's
funny
funny.
stuff.
I should check that out.
Yeah.
They're still making these games, so I guess they survived. But I haven't
I'm
played them
surprised that Leisure Suit Larry hasn't been canceled in the modern day.
I'm surprised.
It's very
I know
sexist.
you can get it on the Switch though, so who knows?
It was some pretty adult content too, because it was like you could get a sexually transmitted disease and all kinds of stuff.
I still
Oh,
have
yeah.
all of those games.
You still have
Oh.
all of them? Yep. For
Oh, cool.
PC, so
Well, with these days though, I'm sure there might be fixes for that, right?
probably.
This was Phantasmagoria. This was one of the later games Roberta
The
Williams
full
worked
name
on.
of it, I believe, was Phantasmagoria: A Puzzle of Flesh.
Yes, you're right. Yes,
This came out. This was very contemporaneous with like Hellraiser, and I'm sure there was a lot of inspiration, shall we say, there.
Yeah, well, this used live actors in it, so
Yes,
you weren't
it
just
did.
moving around a painted, like a drawn character. These were like real actors, and you would move them around in the game. I remember seeing previews for this. I wanted to play this in the worst way. I really wish these games would get a proper remaster on consoles. Some have; they're getting better, about
Yeah.
that. But
It
for
was,
a while, you would see these. Yeah,
It was very interesting because you'd have you wouldn't really be controlling the live actors. The live actors were more like extended cutscenes, and the only thing you really had control over was the puzzles. And the puzzles were more computer graphics, but that's where you started to get into some of the real disgusting. I mean, when they called it Puzzle of Flesh, that's literally what you were doing. Sometimes you had to, replace the parts in an autopsy or something. Yeah, it was like really wild stuff.
no, this was like a creepy game. Though. It was like a horror game, right? And,
Yes, it was.
And I really wanted to play this in the worst way, but I would argue some games like this were probably precursors to what we get later, stuff like Resident Evil and things like that. But
I felt like because this was so much more of a story-driven thing, it was like an interactive movie almost.
oh yeah,
You know,
it looks really cool. But I never got
It
around
was
to playing
a
it
lot of fun.
myself. But you can catch some of the video clips on YouTube. They're pretty
Yep.
gross. You see how I guess the guy who owned the house murdered his wives. That was a part of it, right? And horrible things.